Forgotten Mansion's secret. The mansion stood in eerie silence, its once grand silhouette now half hidden by the relentless encroachment of time and nature. Covered in ivy and thick with dust, it had become an imposing relic of a forgotten past. Its windows, shattered and grimy, barely let in the pale light of day. The walls, once gleaming with opulence, now seemed to sigh under the weight of secrets, holding them as tightly as the dust clung to every surface. On a rare occasion, when the wind howled through the decaying halls, a faint figure could be seen gliding through the shadows, its movements as delicate as the whispers of history itself. She was a ghost, a presence that had been bound to this forsaken place for centuries. Dressed in an ancient, tattered gown, she floated silently, her feet never touching the ground. Her ethereal form seemed to shimmer in the dim light, and her eyes, haunted, sorrowful, yet filled with the echoes of a once vibrant life, gazed out of the broken windows with a deep longing. Her name had been Eveline, and her story was woven into the very fabric of the mansion, its halls echoing with the memories of joy, tragedy, and dark truths. It had not always been this way. The mansion had once been a place of laughter, warmth, and the gentle hum of life. But those days were long gone, replaced by a profound silence, disturbed only by the occasional creak of the wooden floorboards or the rustle of leaves scraping against the windowsill. Eveline's voice was soft, barely a whisper, yet when she spoke, her words carried the weight of centuries of sorrow. She often wandered the halls, reliving her life in the mansion, telling the story of her past to anyone, though no one could hear her but the wind. "I was young once," she would say to herself, as though speaking to an invisible listener, "full of hope and dreams, with a heart untouched by the darkness that would eventually consume me." She had been born into a wealthy family, the daughter of Lord Henry and Lady Margaret Blackwood, the owners of the mansion. The Blackwood family had a long and proud lineage, their wealth and status built over generations. The mansion had been a symbol of their power, a grand structure that towered over the surrounding countryside. It was a place where parties were held, guests were entertained, and the corridors echoed with music and laughter. The gardens were meticulously cared for, and the dining hall was always filled with the finest food and drink. Eveline had grown up in this world of opulence, surrounded by beauty and luxury. As the only child of the Blackwoods, she was cherished and adored. She had a carefree childhood, playing in the gardens, running through the halls, and listening to the stories her father would tell of their ancestors. Her mother, Lady Margaret, was a kind and gentle woman who often took Eveline aside to teach her the ways of society, preparing her to one day take her place among the elite. But as with all things, the happiness that filled the mansion was not destined to last forever. When Eveline was in her early 20s, a shadow began to fall over the Blackwood family. It started with subtle changes, an unease that lingered in the air, a chill that seemed to settle over the mansion at night. Her father, Lord Henry, began to withdraw from the world, his once strong presence becoming more distant and cold. He spent long hours locked away in his study, poring over ancient books and scrolls, muttering to himself in a language Eveline could not understand. Her mother, too, grew ill, her once vibrant health deteriorating rapidly. No one could explain it, but Lady Margaret's condition worsened with each passing day. The once cheerful woman became frail, her face pale, her eyes sunken. Despite the best doctors and treatments money could buy, her illness only deepened. But it was not just her body that seemed to be failing her. It was as if something deep inside her had been lost. Eveline could not shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. But every time she asked her father about it, he would brush her concerns aside, telling her to focus on her studies and prepare for her future. Yet she could see the way his eyes flickered with fear when she mentioned her mother's illness. Then, one stormy night, the truth was revealed. Eveline had been awoken from her sleep by a loud noise, a crash that echoed through the house. She rushed down the stairs, her heart pounding, and found her father standing in the center of the library, a strange book clutched in his hands. He looked as though he had seen a ghost himself, his face pale and drenched in sweat. "Father, what is it?" she had asked, her voice trembling. Lord Henry had turned to her, his eyes wild and desperate. "Eveline, you must listen to me. There are things in this world, things that no one should ever know, and now the truth is coming for us." Confused and frightened, Eveline watched as her father opened the book, revealing a series of dark symbols and strange writings. "This book," he whispered, "was passed down through the generations of our family. It holds the key to unimaginable power and to terrible consequences." The revelation was both horrifying and fascinating. Her father spoke of a pact, a secret bargain made by their ancestors with forces beyond comprehension. In exchange for power and wealth, the Blackwood family had agreed to a curse, one that would haunt them for generations. The price of their prosperity had been their souls, bound to a dark force that demanded payment. Eveline's heart raced as she listened. The curse had been passed down, buried beneath layers of lies and secrecy, but now it was unraveling. Her mother's illness was not a natural disease. It was the result of the curse taking hold. And the mansion itself, once a symbol of their family's success, had become a prison, trapping them in a cycle of darkness and despair. The truth shattered Eveline's world. Everything she had known, everything she had loved, had been built on a lie. The mansion, with all its grandeur, was not a sanctuary. It was a tomb, waiting to claim them all. Her father's words became a blur as he spoke of rituals, sacrifices, and the inevitability of their fate. The curse could not be undone, and the family's soul had already been sold. There was no escaping it. Eveline tried to flee that night, but the mansion had other plans. No matter how hard she ran, the walls seemed to close in around her, the rooms shifting and changing, leading her back to the same place. She heard her mother's voice calling out to her, but when she reached the bedroom, her mother was gone, replaced by an empty, hollow figure that seemed to flicker and fade like a ghost. And then the truth became even clearer. Her family had not just made a pact, they had been consumed by it. The curse had taken her father as well, trapping him in the mansion as a spirit unable to leave. As Eveline wandered through the now abandoned halls, she felt the weight of the years pressing down on her. Time had passed, but she had never aged, never truly left. The curse had bound her to the mansion, and now, as a ghost, she was its guardian, its prisoner. She had uncovered the dark truth too late, and the mansion, now full of shadows and sorrow, was the only home she would ever know. "Now I am nothing but a whisper," she would say softly, gazing at the decaying walls. "A lost soul, doomed to haunt the mansion that should have been my home. The laughter is gone, and all that remains is silence and regret." For centuries, Eveline's ghost had wandered, telling her story to no one but the wind, her heart heavy with the weight of a secret that could never be shared. The mansion had claimed her, just as it had claimed her family before her. It was now a place of darkness, where the echoes of the past could never truly fade. And so, the mansion stood forgotten by the world, its secrets buried beneath layers of dust and decay, while Eveline's spirit remained, forever bound to the place where it all began.